Welcome, everyone, to the premiere episode of Learning Together with Zoe Fiogkos. And we are here in the studio talking to Zoe about why she developed this series. Can you tell everyone why you developed the series, Zoe?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm still using Windows, but I'm also using the Mac. And I found that as a newbie, a lot of my questions weren't being answered either to my comprehension level, or people who are advanced on the Mac seem to forget that we're coming from Windows and we just don't know these things. We don't know what interacting is. We don't know what a dock is. And because I had such a difficulty and I had to basically teach myself, that's not to say that I didn't get help from the blind community, but I had to do a lot of investigating on my own. I thought I would create this series to help newbies to understand the Mac if they choose to use the Mac simultaneously with Windows, or on its own they want to make the transition. I thought I would help. I'm not nowhere near a computer techie, and I'm not a computer whiz. I'm not a Mac advanced user. Yeah, I'm not a Mac expert. However, as I'm learning, I wanted to help other people learn as well. I think I've learned enough to start this series and help people describe things, how things work on the Mac, menus and keyboards and so on and so forth, so that, I do use my Mac now on a daily basis for mail, for notes, for, text editing. I use iMovie, I use a whole bunch of things on the Mac. So I think I'm at a stage that I can help newbies out.
Now, I've always been a Windows user. I'm not going to say that I dislike the Mac, because I cannot ignore the fact that a lot of the accessibility features I get with JAWS were first introduced on the Mac. And, I have to look at it that way. But how often do you think you're going to be doing this series?
You know what? I would like to commit to once a week, but because obviously I have my cooking show and a whole bunch of other things going on, it won't be once every 6 months, of course not. Mm-hmm. I've already given you 2 shows and I've already got one ready. So I'm hoping that maybe one every, 2-3 weeks, I would say.
Right.
I will try to do as many as possible, as quick as possible. I just don't want to be committed to once a week. Maybe later, on a later date, that'll be okay. But right now, because of everything else going on, like I said, I'm already up to 3, and I'm actually planning on taping one today. So let's say by the end of this taping, we'll, have 4 already. So.
Right. And just so everyone knows, this is going to be broadcast both on your channel and on my network, Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway. But you can also go to Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner, and it'll be on her channel as well. I mean, what are your goals for the series? I mean, is there any expectation?
Well, I'm just hoping to, even if I help one person to understand the Mac better, and I do try to compare certain things, certain aspects of the Mac, I do try to compare them to Windows and JAWS, just to, just to show our viewers that things might be called something different, but they're actually, really the same thing. Both on Windows and Mac. The keystrokes are different. The terminology is different. And now I'm not talking about the really advanced techie stuff, with the drives and I mean, I hope eventually I'll learn that stuff and I can help. But, you know, I just want to show people for their daily tasks, if for some reason they can't afford JAWS, you know, and they want to make the transition to Mac, or they want to use both, because one of the reasons I use both platforms is because of the language. You know, I have a few more features on the Mac when it comes to my background language. So, you know, it's up to everybody's, you know, needs, whatever they need. But they have this option to watch these videos as newbies. I really explain things thoroughly, and I'm sorry I am a little bit repetitive, because I think that the more you hear something, eventually it'll stick in your head.
Right.
You know, and I have to mention finally that when I started out, this whole interacting on the Mac really threw me coming from Windows. And it took me a while to understand the concept, and I wish somebody had explained it in simple terms. Why are we interacting? What does this mean? People just kept on telling me the keystroke and kept on telling me interact. Well, my question was, well, why?
Or how?
You know, why? Well, they were giving me the keystroke, so they were giving me the how, but they weren't explaining to me why. Why do I need to interact? I mean, VoiceOver is saying, for example, documents. Well, it's right there on the screen. She's saying it, documents. Why do I need to interact? Nobody was explaining to me. So at the beginning, I just couldn't get the concept until I finally, you know, played with it a lot and asked more questions and eventually got the concept. So I actually, on one of my episodes, I actually described the interacting like a tray of candies that you can see, but you have no access to.
Right.
Unless you interact with it. You know what I mean? I just hope to help somebody understand the Mac, if that's what they wish to do.
Right. And your first episode deals with the comparison between Windows and Mac.
Yes, the desktop itself, because everything is placed differently. I mean, they're still both desktops, but everything is placed differently on the Mac, and of course the terminology is different.
And of course, interaction with the two desktops are different.
Yes, somewhat. I think the keystrokes are just a little different. I mean, we use...
Well, no, wait. I mean, let's face it, it's a lot different. Okay? I just spoke about something. I mean, and I told her, because we were listening to something that her voiceover said, which was give hints. And I do that with JAWS sometimes, especially when it's a new version, because I'm afraid something might change between one version and the next. Having said that, it was telling us to interact with something, press control, command, option, shift, up arrow.
No, control, option, shift, down.
Well, there you go.
But having said that, there is a way to lessen the keystrokes on the Mac.
Right.
But I'm going to leave that for later, because I would like people to learn using the default commands. Because to use quick nav and all that stuff, we're getting more, a little more advanced with the keyboard. So I don't want to talk about that with the newbies until they actually understand. They have to get used to what the Vo keys are. Eventually, once they feel confident with the keyboard and they know where all the keys are and they kind of know what everything does, they can lock the Vo keys and not have to press them.
Right.
So you just give them, let's say, for example, you know, shift plus a letter key to do something, instead of, let's say, Vo shift plus a letter key. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then always there's quick nav, which I will do an episode just on quick nav. So let's not give too much away. I mean, there's no point. You know, they should watch the episodes in sequence, because, you know, for example, the third episode is on interacting and disclosure triangles. Well, if they go to the 8th episode, which let's say talks about, I don't know, the Pages app, they're going to be totally lost because they're not going to know how to navigate. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So people should watch these episodes in sequence.
Right. And I should say, for Zoe, the interactions between the two computers are different, not in the way you think. For one thing, Zoe does things in another language on the Mac that she isn't able to do on Windows. Now, that's not to say that she doesn't have that capability on Windows. It's just harder to do.
Well, Jaws 15, 16, and 17 didn't give me the capability to do things in my language. They're saying...
Well, hold on. I have to say, I was still early on Jaws back then. And, I mean, I'll put it out there. The fact is, I wasn't that experienced with the vocalizer voices. So, changing the language on the fly like that wasn't something that I was readily able to do until I learned later. But having said that, with the Mac, it just seems to switch seamlessly without any issues.
But they are saying that with Jaws now that the Greek, for example, in my case, the Greek has been fixed. I haven't tested it out yet. Because I did have NVDA as a backup for the Greek on Windows, if you remember.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Mind you, now, with the new version of NVDA, now my the vocalizer expressive Greek voice isn't working. I need a new copy. And I just haven't gotten one yet. So we'll see. And, that's another thing I'd like to mention, that if it's okay, I mean, even though this Learning Together series is geared more to learning the Mac, I hope to actually show on camera some comparisons between Jaws and VoiceOver. Not to say one is better than the other, just to show the differences.
Right. And I should say that if anyone, any viewer or listener actually has any comments or criticisms or even questions on how to do things on each platform, you can actually send it to us at whoseblindlifeisatanyway @gmail.com, or you can send it to zoesblindkitchencorner @gmail.com, or you can DM me on Facebook or Twitter, and the same with Zoe. You can DM her on her platform. And again, if your question is interesting enough, we will air it on the show and tell you how to do it visually, or at least auditorially, if that's even a word, for those on podcast. So we won't leave you in the lurch, so to speak.
Oh, I would love to answer questions, especially for newbies.
Yeah.
Well, because obviously advanced Mac users don't need us.
Right, exactly. I mean, I'm sure I know there's stuff I know that others don't know, and I'm sure there's stuff others know that I don't know. And the same would go for Zoe. So by all means, catch Learning Together every Friday night at 8 p.m. and enjoy the learning process.
Thank you, Victor, for allowing me to do this series on your network. And I really hope I can help even one person out there.
I hope so too. Again, guys, you know that we are always available here on the channel, on the network rather. And you can also catch us on Facebook and on Twitter via Periscope, and on podcasts. And if you need a copy of the recording or the audio for this feature, let me know. Send me an email and I will send you a folder link that houses all the episodes that are broadcast here on the network. So I want to thank Zoe for the work she's done on this series, and I hope she continues it for a long time. I hope it becomes popular and useful to a lot of people. So keep an eye out for it. Bye-bye, everybody.
Hello, everybody. It's Zoe again. But this is a new series. We're not here to cook. I'm not here to teach you any daily tasks. This series is going to be called Learning Together, and we're going to focus on technology. iPhone, iPad, Mac, Windows, things like that. You're going to say to me, there's thousands of people doing this. Why are you doing it? I'll tell you why. When you're a newbie on a computer or a device, depending on your learning level, you might have to watch 5 different videos on the same subject so that you can understand how to do something. Because everybody's way of working and everybody's learning level and comprehension is different. So for example, when I first started working on computers in 2002, I asked a lot of questions, I watched a lot of videos, I read a lot of articles, and depending on who was presenting the subject, whether it was a written article or a video or even just face-to-face talking with someone, depending on how somebody presented something to me, I got it. But what I'm trying to say is, maybe I asked Helen, how do you do this? And she said, oh, here, click this, do that, and do that. And it still left me confused, even though I got an answer. And then I went, let's say, to, I don't know, Victor, and said, hi, Vic, how do you do this? And he said, oh, okay, here, do it this way, but don't forget to do this, and I'll explain why. And, oh, now I get it. So I asked the same question to 2 different people, but I understood it when Victor explained it, not when Helen explained it. And please don't get offended, I'm just using examples. I'm not talking about something specific. So, and when I decided to switch over to the Mac, I got a lot of people, especially advanced users of the Mac, saying, don't compare to Windows. And I understand why they're saying that. But honestly, guys, when you've been using a platform like Windows, let's say for 20 years, and then you go to the Mac, or even vice versa, you've been using the Mac for 20 years, and then you want to go to Windows, you subconsciously, you can't help but compare. And you're so used to doing certain daily tasks on your computer. For example, let's say you're on Windows and you say, well, how do I get to the taskbar? Where's my taskbar? There must be a taskbar on the Mac. Well, there is, but it's called something else. And if people were to be a little more patient and explain the differences in terminology, it might be a little bit easier. And like I said, I'm not saying that I'm perfect at this, and maybe my way of explaining things might not be good for some people, but I want to give the blind community another option. Meaning that somebody, let's say I'm doing a video on the Notes app. There might be 20 videos on YouTube on the Notes app. My way of explaining it might be the one that helps you, or it may be the other way around. It may be the one that confuses you. But I just want to give people another option. So they'll have, the more options you have to learn something, the more chances are that one of them will work for you. Maybe it'll be my way, Maybe it'll be Joe's way, maybe it'll be Susie's way. Who knows? But this is my contribution. Now, having said all that, even though I've been working on computers since 2002, so almost 20 years, I still consider myself a newbie. You're going to say, what are you talking about? Yes, I consider myself a newbie. I learn something new every day, or almost every day, and this is why I'm calling this series Learning Together. I'm also 50 and I'm very forgetful. And that doesn't help when you're working on computers. And I actually work better on a computer when I'm working in silence. It's me and the computer. When I have somebody over my head trying to tell, well, why don't you try this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Especially sighted people like my husband, who has no patience and doesn't understand. Well, I shouldn't say he doesn't have patience. Because he's sighted, he doesn't understand the concept. He doesn't understand the concept of screen readers. I mean, by now he's pretty much gotten used to it, but he forgets how things work with the screen reader. So if I've come into a roadblock on the computer and I'm trying to figure it out, he starts talking over my screen reader and saying, try this, do that, do that. But I'm also trying to hear the screen reader. And I keep telling him, you're forgetting that things don't work this way with JAWS, or things don't work this way with VoiceOver. So I appreciate my husband and anybody sighted. I'm never going to say that blind people can be 100% independent on the computer. I think that we're always going to run into some stumbling block or roadblock. Because it does depend on developers for apps. It depends on the makers of the screen readers. And of course, it depends on the platforms, the Windows platform and the iOS platform. And I have to tell you that, yes, accessibility has come a long way on computers, but we aren't the priority. And don't get offended at that. Sighted people, there's much more of them out there than there are of us, and they're trying to sell computers to sighted people. Having said that, I am grateful for the progress that has been made in the last 20 years. I've seen a difference, so I am grateful. So, most of my videos, except if we're focusing on a specific app, shouldn't be too long. This one will be long because it's our introduction. Long. I don't know how long it's going to be, but it'll be longer than the others because it's our first episode, my introduction. At some point, I may do just a 5-minute video discussing, inverting colors or just the colors on the Mac for the visually impaired. I might do a 3-minute video on setting time and date. I might do a 30-minute video demonstrating the Notes app and how it works in conjunction with the iPhone. So these episodes will be random. They won't be like my cooking show where they're aired once a week. They'll be random whenever I have time and whenever I can and whenever I learn something new. And I hope these help and I hope you enjoy them. I'm going to have the camera focus on the screen, just in case somebody's interested who can see, or maybe for visually impaired people who maybe have some vision. I am using screen readers. I do have some vision, but it's not with difficulty. I could wear my glasses and zoom the screen and use the zoom features on Windows and the Mac, and even zoom text, which was what I started out with. So I actually started out being visually impaired and using a mouse. And I also used to make my own invitations and menus for banquet halls and stuff like that. And I used to use Microsoft Publisher, which I can no longer do that. I don't have enough vision to do that. I could use zoom text at this point, to enlarge the screen and wear my specially prescribed glasses for high contrast, and I can turn my screen to high contrast and I could see what I'm writing on the screen. But it's a strain on my eyes. So I'm using JAWS, NVDA, and VoiceOver. Those are 3 screen readers. The JAWS screen reader and the NVDA screen readers are for Windows, and the VoiceOver screen reader is on the Mac and the iPhone. And I'm going to talk about the differences throughout all these videos. I'm not going to spend a whole episode talking about the differences. As we go along, I will talk about the differences. So I have a 27-inch iMac in front of me, and beside that I have I believe it's an 18-inch, it could be 15, I can't remember now. I think it's 18-inch Windows laptop. And I have both of them on. I'm not going to show you this today, but on the iMac I have my colors inverted. I will do an episode just on that. I have both of them open just because I want to introduce the Mac to you. And I want to introduce the Mac in comparison to Windows. So when we were children, we all sat, whether we were sighted, visually impaired, or blind, we all sat at desks. And you had a desk in front of you that you can feel with your hands that was basically a flat square surface or rectangle. And usually some of them didn't have anything underneath. Some had a drawer, or some had a shelf that you can put your pens and markers and rulers and whatever underneath. That's your desk. So on your computer, when you turn on your computer and you look at the screen, if you could see, that's called your desktop. And that's where it comes from. So, but instead of having your desk flat in front of you, you have it vertically in front of you. And it's called your desktop. And that's where it comes from. It comes from school. So the desktop on Windows and the desktop on the Mac are a little different. Once you get to know them, I can honestly say I think they're pretty similar. The terminology is different. And if people explained to people coming from either platform the differences of the terminology and a little of the similarities and the differences, maybe it wouldn't be so difficult and such a learning curve. Yeah, so, okay. So I have VoiceOver. I forgot to turn down hold on.
Macintosh HD volume.
Now, most blind and sighted people are used to screen readers. And most of us use them at a higher rate, higher reading rate. Sighted people, when they hear screen readers being used, they're like, what? That's so fast. But for us blind people, it's not fast at all because we're used to it. My friend Victor, he uses his JAWS speech at a much higher rate than I do. Much, much higher. I stand beside him and I have to really pay attention, or, I catch some words. So I hope this is not too fast for you. We'll see. So on the Mac, so actually let me start with Windows. On Windows, and I'm just because my screensaver's on. On Windows, you have your desktop, and it's got a whole bunch of icons on your desktop, depending on how many you have on there. It usually comes preloaded with your basic icons, your Edge, which is probably your internet browser, your Edge, Microsoft Edge, your documents, and something called this PC, where your hard drives are, and so on and so forth, and a few other little things. And as you progress, you add more icons to your desktop for easier access. At the bottom of your screen, you have a long bar. So if you were to physically touch your desktop, it's like there's a ruler at the bottom going across the bottom of the screen. And that's where your start menu is located. And I'm just going to press the Windows key, which is the second button from the space bar, and the letter M. There's a reason.
Windows M.
So Jaws just said Windows M, and he should have said desktop, but...
Windows M. Caps lock on.
Oh, sorry.
Caps lock tab. Start button to open.
Okay. The reason he didn't say desktop is because I was already on my desktop. So I'm going to do it again. Listen.
Windows M. Desktop. Folder view list view. Unselected tab. Omicron. New capital.
Okay. So basically, let me shut him up. He basically said desktop, list view, and started announcing something that I had in Greek on there. Now, on your Mac, you have the same idea. You have a desktop. Now, your desktop on your Mac doesn't come with any icons preloaded. If you want to add on your desktop, you can, which I have done. So the combination to get to your desktop is VO keys, Shift D.
Desktop group.
So she just said desktop group. And if I hold down my VO keys and I arrow left and right, you'll hear what's on my desktop.
The Septuagint Bible in English folder. Important scans folder.
So something called important scans.
The Macintosh HD volume.
Macintosh HD volume. Macintosh HD volume is basically your C drive, just like you have on Windows.
The important scan. Blind Kisses folder.
I have a folder called Blind Kisses.
Prayers folder.
I have a folder.
Prayers folder.
I have a folder called
currently on
Prayers.
folder.
Now, you're going to say to me, you sounded like you pressed a lot of keys. I did. On Windows, it's Windows key M. On the desktop, it's VO Shift D. What's VO? VO stands for voiceover. It's your voiceover keys. Your voiceover keys are all the way to the left of your keyboard, and it's basically your option, control key and option key. But you got to press them down together. Now, if you don't want to press them down together and hold them, what you can do is you can find your semicolon key.
Macintosh HD volume.
Give me a
You
second.
are currently on a volume. Control option lock on.
So I pressed my hold on. HIJKL. Yeah. So next to your L key is your colon key or your semicolon key, depending if you have shift on. If you do that and you press the VO keys and that, she said VO keys, VO locked. So now, if I press Shift
Desktop
D,
group.
she told me that I'm on my desktop. So basically, now I'm down to two keys, Shift D, and that gets me to the desktop. Just like on Windows, Windows key M gets me to the desktop. Now I'm going to unlock my keys, so I'm just going to press those keys again, VO, Control, Option, and the colon key.
Option. Control option lock off.
So she said lock off. So we have two desktops. Both have icons on them. Is there anything different? No, just the key commands are different. The start menu, that's what it's called on Windows. We press the Windows key and JAWS will say,
Search box edit. Type of text.
well, he says search box edit. That's because Windows lands you right in your search box of your start menu.
Escape. Desktop. Folder.
I press escape so I can get rid of it. If we press again, quiet. If I go back to the Mac and press VOM, listen.
Control option. Menu bar Apple. You are currently on a menu bar item. To open this menu, press Control option space.
Okay, so menu bar Apple. That's basically your start menu. The difference between Windows, again, is what they're called. And the key combination is different, but they're also located differently. Your start menu on your Windows screen is at the bottom left-hand corner. And on the Mac, it's your top left-hand corner. Top left-hand. And I just want to demonstrate that I've selected the start menu on the Mac, which is called the Apple menu. And if I press my Vo keys and arrow down, listen.
Apple menu. About this Mac.
About this Mac.
Menu item. System preferences ellipsis.
System preferences.
App Store ellipsis.
App Store.
Recent items. Force quit ellipsis.
Recent items. Force
You are
quit.
currently on the menu item.
Quiet.
Sleep. You are
Sleep.
currently on the menu. Restart ellipsis.
Restart.
You are currently. Shut down ellipsis.
Shut down.
Lock screen command control.
Lock screen.
Log out Zoe Fiogkos.
Log out.
Log out Zoe Fiogkos ellipsis.
Okay,
command shift.
just
Mac
press
interface
escape
sheet.
to get
Follow
rid of
Mac
that.
interface-
So there you have your
Control.
start menu. Or, as we said, learn the terminology for the Mac. It's your Apple menu. Okay? Next to the start menu on your Windows system, you have your taskbar. Your taskbar tray. So, if I...
Tab, start button to open, press enter.
It says start button, open to enter, which on the Mac, it said the same thing, Apple menu, and it gave you a key command to open the menu. If I press tab again,
Tab, taskbar, file explorer button to move through items, press left arrow.
taskbar, file explorer. Use left and right arrows to move through what's on the taskbar. So,
File explorer button, file explorer button, Mozilla Firefox button,
Firefox,
Acer quick access button, Acer portal button, Microsoft Edge button,
Microsoft Edge,
Word 2013 button,
Word 2013, whatever.
file explorer button.
And back to file explorer. So that's what I have on my taskbar. Is there a taskbar on your Mac? Well, there sort of is, but it's called something else. It's called your dock. Okay? But before I get to show you the dock on the Mac, I'm going to tab again on the Windows laptop.
Tab, system tray until register graphics settings button to move.
It says System Tray. And it's got, if we move left and right, it's got a whole bunch of apps.
Acer Care Center button,
Acer Care Center,
unchecking button,
Unchecky,
Bluetooth devices button,
Bluetooth devices,
browser text word button, speakers 100%.
speakers,
Windows security actions recommended button, Avast secure line meet now button,
a whole bunch of things. Meet now.
recharge 100% button.
It's telling me it's fully charged. The reason I'm going through these, I'll watch.
Not connected connections are tray input indicator English Canada button to activate system clock 4:36 p.m.
And it got to the system clock. So that's what's at the bottom of your screen on Windows. Your start menu, your taskbar with your either open applications or applications you've pinned to your taskbar, like I have Word and Microsoft Edge, and then your tray, system tray, which has all your apps, extra apps, like you could have your mail there, you could have whatever you want really. And it's got a few things that come with your laptop, and then beside that is the clock. Now, let's go to the Mac. If I press...
PM 9/2/2021 clock.
Sorry, hold on. Let me get him out of there so he doesn't announce the clock all the time.
Windows M desktop folder view list view up selected tab omicron new yellow camera O amplify delta epsilon yellow pi new.
Okay. So, back to the Mac. If I'm at the top of my screen. Remember we said the Apple menu is at the top left of the screen.
Option menu bar. Apple. Control.
Menu
You are currently on
bar.
the menu bar item. To open this menu, press Control. Option. Space.
So menu bar Apple. And she gave me this shortcut, which she's saying, you know, press this, and space to open the menu. But you don't have to. You can just
Apple menu.
arrow down.
System prep app store recent type force sleep.
I'm just arrowing down. I'm using my arrow key. You can use Vo arrow or just the arrow. Hold on. Or you can use a Vo arrow, the Vo keys plus the arrow, or the arrow by itself. And she also gives you another option, which is Vo spacebar. But why would I do that? Okay, I don't have to. Now, the reason we're at the start menu, but we're at the top of the screen. If I move with my arrow key, if I move to the right, listen what happens.
Finder menu. You are currently
She
on
said-
menu. To choose
She said Finder menu.
Control.
Listen again.
File menu. You
File.
are currently on a menu. Edit. Menu.
Edit.
You are currently on
So
a
I'm
menu.
moving to the
push this menu
right.
item,
Move
press
again.
Control.
Move again to the right.
View. Menu.
View
Control.
menu.
Con-
Move again to the right.
Go. Menu.
Go
You are
menu.
currently on a menu.
Move
choose this menu
again
item,
to the
press Control.
right.
Window. Menu. Control.
Window menu.
You are currently on a
So
menu.
the difference between
Control.
the Mac, beside my, let's say, start menu, which is called the Apple menu, I have a whole bunch of options. Window, file, help, go. Go is to get to your documents or your downloads folder or things like that. We will get into more detail on each of these things individually. Today, I just want to show you the outlay. And we're actually almost done. So I'm going to move right again.
Help menu.
Help menu.
Search result. Interactive.
I'm going to move to the right again.
Apple menu.
She
You
went
are
back to
currently on a
Apple
menu.
menu.
Choose this menu item.
Okay? That's at the top of your screen.
Control.
But there's more at the top of your screen. But there's a different keystroke to get to the other part. So to get to the right top of the Mac screen, I would press the VO keys again, which is the first two keys at the bottom left of your keyboard, the Control and the Option key. And I'm going to press MM twice and listen to what she says. Actually, let me turn up the volume. Hold on.
Option Control.
Okay. So I'm pressing.
Control. Option.
I pressed Control Option, which are my VO keys, and listen. I'm going to press the M twice.
Menu bar. Apple.
Whoops.
Mac. You are currently on a volume. Menu bar. Apple. You are currently on a menu bar
Hold
item.
on, hold
to
on.
open this menu, press Control. Menu extras.
Okay.
Dropbox 130.4.4978 up to date. Menu extra. Menu
Okay.
extras. Dropbox 130.4.4900.
Hold on. Okay. So she went to something.
Menu extra. Option. Control.
And she
control,
wants to keep
control.
telling me. So hold on a sec. Menu extras is the other part of the top right of your screen. Listen when I go through this, what's here.
Accessibility. Menu extra. Bluetooth. Menu extra.
So there's
You
my
are currently on a menu
there's my Bluetooth, just like it was
Control.
in our system tray on Windows.
Option. Displays menu. Menu
Dis-
extra.
displays menu.
Option. Wi-Fi. 404 bar.
Wi-Fi. So just
Menu
like
extra.
on quiet, just like on your system tray, you have your internet connection shown. Just same thing here. It's called Wi-Fi.
Option control. Volume 82%. Menu
Volume.
Extra. You are currently on a menu extra. To volume 80. Thursday 4:41 p.m. Clock. Menu extra. You
There's
are
my
currently on a
clock.
menu extra.
So the clock
Control.
on Windows is at the bottom right-hand corner. On the Mac, it's at the top right-hand corner. So it's just kind of switched around. And at the bottom of the screen, which is the final thing we're going to talk about today, we have something called the dock. So the dock is basically what your system tray is on Windows. The difference between the Windows and the Mac is on your top of your screen, you have your clock, your Wi-Fi, and a whole bunch of menu items, plus your Apple menu for shutting down and all that stuff. And you have a whole bunch of menu items, like I said, like your Go, which takes you to documents and so on and so forth. But at the bottom, I'm going to press VO, which we said is Control Option D.
Option. Control. Dock. System preferences. You are currently.
So basically, she said dock system preferences. The bottom of your dock is all the apps that come preloaded with the Mac and whatever you add. Except for maybe one or two, like you, I think there is one or two that you can't remove. You can add and remove these icons from your dock as you please. And we will do maybe even a whole video just on the dock. But I just want to give you an example. The dock is at the bottom of your screen. So think about having a ruler at the bottom of your screen with, all blind people know what a square feels like. Let's say little squares or little circles. And each circle is an icon of something. Okay? So if I arrow through these, listen.
Mail. You
Mail.
are currently on a text edit.
Text
You are
edit.
notes.
Notes.
Pages.
Pages.
Safari.
Safari.
Music.
Music.
Podcasts.
Podcasts. TV.
Calendar.
Calendar.
Photos. Contacts. Messages. FaceTime. App Store. Reminders. Launchpad. Google Chrome.
Google
You are currently on
Chrome.
a QuickTime Player.
I
You are
have
current-
I have both Safari and Google Chrome
Control.
on here, and we'll talk about that another day.
Dropbox.
Dropbox.
You are iMovie.
iMovie.
You are currently on a folder.
Whoops.
Downloads. Trash. Finder. You are currently
And so, because I just heard it,
Control.
she said trash. Trash on the Mac is what your recycle bin is on Windows. So again, things are similar. The layout is different. There are other things that are way different than Windows. But your basic layout, if you change the terminology a little bit, is exactly the same. Now, the Mac users out there who are advanced are going to say, what are you talking about? They're not the same. Sorry, guys, I disagree. I said the function of the Mac, the way the Mac works might be different. The key combinations might be different. Structures might be different. Memory or hard drive or all those fancy schmancy things might be different. But for the basic everyday user who just wants to surf the net, check email, I don't know, talk to a loved one, overseas, maybe write a note, check the weather, and I don't know, check their calendar. Those things are the same. Okay, they're just called different things. So
option. System preferences.
we're back to
You are
system
currently on
preferences.
application doc-
If I was using
Control.
right now I arrowed across, just using my left and right arrows, and it took me back to system preferences, which is like at the beginning. But if I were holding down the Vogue keys, look what happens. I'm
Control.
going to go
Option.
quickly because you don't really need to hear what the icons, but listen.
Make techno pates of mute pop teeth cap foot comp mess fit app remote lock Google separator. QuickTime Player. Dropbox. iMovie. Separator. iCloud Drive. Downloads. Trash. 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 Trash.
I got to the end of my icons and she's saying trash and you're hearing a boom, boom. Listen.
Trash. Trash.
Because I'm holding the Vogue keys down, she's not wrapping around back to the start. But if I were to just do it with my arrow keys,
Downloads. Trash. Finder.
takes
You are
me
currently
right
on
back,
application doc item. Tool.
takes me right back, wraps around right
Control.
back to the beginning. So these are the little tricks that you learn as you go along. And you're going to find out what's comfortable for you. Just like with JAWS, you changed your settings according to your, what suits your mood, whatever, what suits your fancy and your preferences. Same thing here. There's many ways of doing different things. So that's our desktop between Windows and JAWS. If you really pay attention to the things I'm saying and the way I'm describing things, they're very similar. It's the only difference I can honestly say is the terminology and that things are placed in different areas. You're blind. Who cares if the clock is at the top of the screen or at the bottom of the screen? When you press to hear the time on your Windows laptop, do you want her to tell you the time, or do you want her to or him or her, whatever? Do you want JAWS to tell you where the clock is, or do you just want to hear the time? You just want to hear the time. So the fact that the Mac has it at the top right corner and Windows has it at the bottom right corner, who cares? Same thing with the start menu. So I'm just summing up. Start menu for the Mac is at the top. It's called Apple menu, top left corner. Windows, bottom left corner. System tray is in your almost right side, bottom right side of your Windows laptop. And the dock, which is basically like your system tray, it's got all your apps, is at the bottom of your screen on your Mac. It's called the dock. And actually the Mac has a few little extra things because We have a menu going across that has your view, file, finder, go, help, and window. And we have our menu extras beside that at the top. These are all at the top. So in order, again, just to sum up, Apple menu, menu bar items, such as we said go and whatever. Next to that, your menu extras, which has your Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, stuff like that. And then your clock. And your desktop is basically the same. You have icons on your desktop just like you do on Windows. So that's introducing the desktop, introducing the Mac in the comparison to Windows. As a newbie, I think that's more than enough for you to ponder on. If you watch this video a couple of times and pay attention, you'll get it. You'll see how similar things are. The terminology changes. And I just want to mention, because I just remembered, on the Mac, our voice over speech software uses what we call the VO keys or VO keys. Some people call them VO, some people call them VO, and we said it's your control option. Well, with JAWS, it's the same thing. JAWS key is your insert key, right? So there's, and with the voiceover, you can change your voiceover keys. If you don't want to press down two keys, you don't want to use the lock, you can use your caps lock key as your voiceover keys. So just like JAWS has the insert, you could use your caps lock. I don't like it. I don't use it. Some people do. It's a preference thing. Anyway, so that's it for today. I hope this kind of helps to give you an idea of the first differences you're going to encounter with the two systems. And we will, you know, every so often I will do a video and I will focus on something. I just wanted to do an introduction. So maybe our next video will focus on what these menus do. Or maybe the next video will be, I'll decide which one I'm going to do next. We'll focus just on the dock. What you can do with the dock, how you remove, how you add, and so on and so forth. So I hope this video helped. Again, my apologies for it being a little bit long, but I felt that the introduction, I should blab a lot. And for those who know me by now, I do blab a lot. I promise the other videos will be shorter, except for when we concentrate on something big like the Notes app or the Pages app. Those videos will probably be a little longer. And we might, you know what, I might split them up into parts. So that way I don't, you know, bore you guys for an hour or so. So I hope you have learned something. I hope you've understood something. Yeah, that's it for today. You know, I thought I would mention some things about voiceover, but you know what? We'll do a whole video just on the voiceover utility and how to play with it, just like you would with the JAWS Settings Center and all that stuff. So that's it for today, because if I keep talking, who knows how long I'll be talking for. So love you guys as always. Hope I helped somebody. See you on our next Learning Together episode.